Today we're going to be doing episode 3.5 of the Disgruntled and Angry Anarchists of Antiquity, the mega campaign. And because of lag issues, we're actually going to be transitioning into EU4 this episode. But since our rebels, due to lag issues, have to skip about 1600 years of history, we're going to have to roll dice to see what happens. And it should make for an interesting game. And then I'll use custom game setup so you guys can see what the map looks like. And then next episode, we'll make our first moves in EU4. So here is our Rome Total War map. This left off with all the territories we have. We have Libya, we have the Middle East, we have this little Caucasian fortress up here. We have the Russian wastes, Crimea, Illyria, and Austria, as well as Ireland and Scandinavia. So the first question is, in the next 1600 years of history, where will our disgruntled and angry anarchists of antiquity establish their empire? So this is a D10. So let's roll. We got an 8. So that means that we'll create a small republic in the Caucasus, which is an interesting proposition, which means our empire will be here in EU4. That makes sense. It's a defendable position, and there has to be some element of randomness since we weren't able to establish a strong foothold before the rebel game state kind of corrupted, since the rebels are not supposed to be a playable faction in Rome Total War. So alright, so the Caucasus are a location. The next question is, which empire will dominate the classical era? It's a D12. And I eliminate the Parthians and Seleucids because of their early struggles and downfall against our rebel alliance. The Parthians are down to 2 cities, and the Seleucids were falling apart at the seams due to the Egyptians, myself, and Pontus. So those 2 are eliminated. So this is a D12. Because the Romans were the most sophisticated, 1 through 4, the Romans once again become the strongest empire. 5, 6 Carthage, since they were their strongest enemy. Egypt in Rome Total War is very overpowered, and then for fun I threw in the Scythians, the Spanish, the Gauls, and the Bretons. So let's roll. D12. And we got 12, wow. So the classical empire will be the Britannians. That's interesting. That's really going to shake up our game. Wow. So let me write that down. Classical dominant empire equals the Bretons. And then how will the barbarian invasions play out? The Huns crushed the dominant classical era empire and set up a wide kingdom in Illyria and the Balkans. In this case, they wouldn't actually crush the dominant kingdom since it's in Britannia and assuming France, but they'd roll over all of the weaker states since there's no real empire there. That's 1 through 3. The White Huns, or the Hephthalite Empire, become the dominant barbarian empire and conquer all of Iran and Anatolia. That's a fun option. There's no Sassanids to fight back. There's no Romans to fight back. Francia becomes strong. West Francia, Middle Francia, Lotharingia. This is if they stay together and they conquer Iberia, Francia, and West Germany. And then the German and Slavic tribes settle all of France, Germany, Belgium, and Britain. Or the dominant empire survives all threats. This will be interesting. And of course the dominant empire will make it into EU4, but it just depends on how strong they are, as the Byzantium exists in the 1444 start date. we get a 7, which means Germanic and Slavic tribes sack and settle all of France, Germany, Belgium, and Britain. So already our classical dominant empire, the Bretons, have been kicked back to just a few cities because of the Germanic and Slavic tribes. That's interesting. This is going to be fun. Germanic and Slavic tribes roll over Bretonnian Empire. Now, because they're disunited tribes, that doesn't mean they're going to be united, which makes Europe still a fair playing field, which is nice for us as the rebels. And then the next question is, how will religion change the landscape? But before that, I'd like to say hello and welcome. If you're joining us just as the EU4 viewer, I am doing a mega campaign from Rome Total War, which is where we got this screenshot from, to EU4 to Stellaris. And if we die along any point along the way, we will just never make it to Stellaris. The series will just end. So this is our setup game to go from Rome Total War to EU4. So I hope you guys are all caught up now. Let's continue. So back to how will religion change the landscape. 1 through 5, it'll play out semi-normally. 6, dominant European powers never abandon their traditional religions. The Great Schism of the Catholic and Orthodox Church never occurs. Crusader states stay strong, the Caliphate stays strong, or Islam stopped in its tracks by the dominant Middle Eastern Empire. This one will be interesting too. So it says D12, but there's only 10 options, so it's a D10. That's my mistake. We get 1, which means religion plays out normally. That's good. We have one normal option after having Slavic sacking of Europe, the Bretonnians being the dominant empire. So that means the Celts are still strong. Wow, that's interesting. And then the next one is, how will the Viking and Mongol invasions play out? This is a D6. As they did normally, with both of them growing and fracturing. Vikings stop in their tracks. Viking conquer all of England. Mongols set up an Asian-centered world, or dominant empire, prevents Mongols from reaching Europe. I'm going to make this a D5, just because the Bretonnians are so weak by this point that they wouldn't be able to contest the Mongols or the Vikings. Although they will still be around. So, E5, roll, 5. Alright, the Mongols set up an Asian-centered world. So we're going to have a strong Mongol empire. That's crazy, or at least Mongol successor states. Mongols set up Asian-centered world. Yeah, so that's interesting. We'll have dominant Asian empires, and the West will be open to their expansion. So that's actually our last option. So with that in mind, let's go set up what the map will look like. So our rebels I'm going to take some liberties with. Our empire is going to be in the Caucasus, which is a very poor region to start out with, but I mean, you get what you get. If you can't play the campaign because of lag issues, you're just going to have to settle. But that's